August 14, 2005. What began as a routine short flight from Cyprus to Greece transformed into a ghost aircraft tragedy. At 34,000 feet, everyone on board, pilots, passengers, crew, had succumbed in silence. The jet continued on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed near Grammatiko. All 121 souls were lost. This isn't science fiction. It's the story of Helios Airways Flight 522, a story of human error, misinterpreted warnings, and hypoxia in the cockpit, and how a pilot asleep at the controls changed aviation forever. Flight HCY 522, a Boeing 737-300 named Olympia, Reg. 5BDBY, had flown safely for years before transferring to Helios Airways in Cyprus. On August 14th, it carried 121 people, 115 passengers, 6 crew, from Larnaca to Athens, with a final destination of Prague. At 9:07 a.m. local time, the sleek jet lifted off under clear skies. Everything looked normal until it wasn't. Earlier that morning, engineers had repaired a buzzing door seal. To verify pressurization, they set the cabin pressure controller to manual, performed a leak test, and then forgot to set it back to auto. That meant the outflow valve remained partially open, unable to regulate cabin altitude. The pilots, experienced but routine-driven, missed the green manual indication on the overhead panel during the pre-flight, after-start, and after-takeoff checklists. A slowly climbing cabin altitude began unnoticed, and that was the beginning of tragedy. Around 12,040 feet, a cabin altitude warning horn sounded, identical to the takeoff configuration warning used on the ground. Confused, the pilots thought the aircraft hadn't properly retracted flaps or gear. They reduced climb. They asked maintenance, but oxygen masks dropped in the cabin, and the master caution and equipment cooling lights blinked. Hypoxia, the silent thief of cognition, began crippling the crew. Instead of donning oxygen, they scrambled to address the wrong alert. At 18,000 feet, masks deployed. Cabin altitude kept climbing. Crews disconnected autopilot, but didn't descend. Hypoxia robbed them of judgment. At 9:20 a.m., they last communicated with Nicosia ATC. At FL 340, autopilot held them straight. The aircraft flew on, powerful ghost in the sky, controlled by no one. For 70 minutes, Flight 522 drifted over the Aegean under autopilot. Contact from Athens were ignored. 2 Greek F-16 jets launched at 11:05 a.m., intercepting the unresponsive Boeing at 11:23 a.m. The fighter pilots saw eerie sights. First officer slumped at the controls, oxygen masks dangling from the ceiling. A female crew member briefly entering the cockpit and waving before slumping. It was a ghost flight, a boarded plane with no breathing souls. Fuel began to run out. At 11:49, one engine flamed out. At 11:54, the second did. Forced into an emergency descent, the aircraft crashed into hills near Grammatiko at 12:03 p.m., killing all 121 aboard. There were no survivors. Greece's A accident board found key failures. Cabin pressurization left in manual mode after maintenance. Pilots didn't notice emergency checklist emissions during multiple key procedures. Hypoxia impaired decision-making during critical moments. Warning horn confusion between ground and cabin modes. Organizationally, Helios Airways lacked safety oversight. Boeing had been previously warned about pressurization errors. Flight 522 was a tragic wake-up call for aviation. Mandatory auto-pressurization checks before flight. Distinct alarm sounds for cabin versus ground issues. Pilot training emphasizing hypoxia recognition and early descent. Regulatory oversight of airlines' safety culture. More transparency, more redundancy, less chance of ghost flights in the future. The mystery of Flight 522 wasn't about pilots falling asleep. It was about invisible systems failing and the silent, deadly fog of hypoxia overtaking them. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share. Keep learning, stay safe, fly smart.